It's Storytime, Memaw, an answered prayer for stories that point children to God. And here's today's story with Joanne Vickner.
Earth stopped spinning and the sun stood still for one man. It's true. He was one of the 12 spies that scouted the land of Canaan and told Moses they could take it, when 10 others opposed the idea. He became Moses' personal assistant and was commissioned to lead the people into the promised land. His name means God is deliverance. Who was he? Right, Joshua. Now God told Joshua that he would drive the Canaanites out of the promised land and Israel would take possession of it little by little. Joshua understood and he obeyed God's command. For 6 straight days, once a day, he marched his army around the city of Jericho. At first, those living inside the city were nervous. After all, they had heard of the mighty acts of the God of Joshua. On day 5, they became terrified as they pondered what Israel was up to, and that was revealed on day 7. With zipped lips, Joshua's army marched around Jericho, but this time, they didn't stop. They continued as the people within the city trembled and watched in horror from their rooftops as the Israelites completed laps number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They surrounded Jericho and stopped, turned to face the wall, and waited for the signal. Then the priests blasted their trumpets and Joshua yelled, "Shout, for the Lord has given you this city." His men shouted. In sheer terror, the Canaanites began screaming too. At once, God caused the walls of Jericho to crumble, and Joshua's men ran in and took the city. Then God delivered the city of Ai and its king into Joshua's hand too. Well, the other kings living in the promised land were scared, so they joined forces and plotted to kill Joshua. All except for the Gibeonites. They knew Joshua and his God would destroy them. So they tricked Joshua into believing they were from a faraway country, so they would be spared. Without asking the Lord, Joshua swore an oath and made peace with them. 3 days later, he learned he had been deceived, but he couldn't do anything about it because he gave his word and swore an oath. Now it came about that the Amorites despised the Gibeonites because they were friends with Joshua. So 5 Amorite kings gathered their armies and attacked Gibeon. The Gibeonites were in trouble, so several men quickly sent word to Joshua to come save them. Joshua assembled his valiant warriors and left Gilgal in haste. They raced 25 miles uphill during the cover of night. On the way, the Lord told Joshua, "Do not fear, for I have given them into your hands. Not one of them shall stand before you." The Amorites were taken by surprise and not prepared for a fight, but that didn't matter because this was the Lord's fight. He slew many of them and the rest took off running. Joshua and his men chased after them and watched in awe as God rained down huge hailstones from the sky, picking off the enemy one by one. God protected Israel, and not one stone struck Joshua or his men. Now, Joshua knew if the sun set, the Amorites would have a chance to regroup and rest for the night. He wanted to end the battle now, but how? He prayed, "Sun, stand still over Gibeon, and you, moon, over the valley of Ajalon." That's when it happened. Our earth, which spins 1,000 miles per hour, stopped spinning. The moon ceased to move, and the sun stood high in the sky, never to move, for about a whole day. That's 14 extra hours of daylight. Everyone knew God fought for Israel, and he gave them the land of the Amorites. Then God caused the earth, moon, and sun to move once again. Because of the resurrection of Christ Jesus, you, my friend, can approach the throne room of God anytime and boldly pray to Him. God honored Joshua's faith and complied with his request, just as He will honor your faith and fight for you. Joshua 10:25. Do not fear or be dismayed. Be strong and courageous, for the Lord will do this to all your enemies with whom you fight.
If you enjoy Joanne's stories, her book is available on Amazon, and her website at itsstorytimememaw.com. That's itsstorytimememaw.com. Go ahead and order it today, and thanks for listening.